Good morning, everybody. I now call this edition of the Kiwanis Connects show on February 20th, 2026, 12 p.m. noon, 9 a.m. Pacific, to order. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody, whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or on Sunday mornings. It don't matter. We're just happy to have you along for the ride today. And boy, have we got a show for you. First, as always, let's welcome in my partner, cohort, and one of the bestest friends I have on this God's green earth. Doc Val, how are you, my friend?
Aloha. I have to let you know that the sun is actually shining here. We've received over 7 inches of rain here in the Monterey Peninsula over the last 4 days, and so the pool floated twice. And although we have one of the most heavy-hitting topics I think that we've had in a long time today, I'm glad to be here with you all versus out bailing the yard. So
I get it. The last 2 days here in Virginia Beach area, there's one word that describes what we have, and that is fog. Dense fog. Pea soup thick fog. But anyway, there are two other individuals.
Yes, there are.
Not that they're bored and have nothing else to do. Thought they'd just sit around in the video chat room with us. They're here for a purpose. Doc Val, why don't you introduce our guests if you'd like?
And so I am beyond privileged to have these two people with us today. And so if you're tuning in, no matter where you are on the globe, this is something that impacts us all, and we very rarely think about it. And so I wanted to welcome Candace Leitner and Matt, and I don't want to destroy your last name. How do you pronounce your last name?
Capilouto.
Capilouto. I can repeat that over and over again. It's not like Jason Cherpaseski. Darn it, I did it again. How are you both? Candace, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Okay. And Matt, how are you doing?
Fantastic. And I won't brag about the weather here in Southern California.
Where in Southern California are you?
I'm in Temecula, which is very close, just slightly northeast of San Diego.
Wine country with Balloon Fest. I gotcha. And Candace, where are you located right now?
I'm actually in Alexandria, Virginia, and I understand, Aaron, what you mean by fog. However, I don't know if you're anticipating snow again, but we are in the next couple of days, and I would give anything to get some sunshine. So lucky you all.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was watching the weather this morning, Candace. They're using the words wintry mix here in the Va Beach area, but they're depending upon temperature, the storm. Like, we seem to be on the dividing line. But, for a guy who spent 27 years in the desert in Las Vegas, you know what I'm saying? It's like this cold and snow and schmutz and all this other stuff. I don't know what my wife was thinking. I don't. She makes some money.
No, Virginia Beach is nice. I mean, I like Four Seasons. I mean, I'm from California, but I like here because I like Four Seasons. I like California too, but it's sort of enough now. It's just kind of ready for it to go, and really, I'm craving sunshine. I just almost wanted to fly to California just for a weekend to get some sunshine.
Well, you're always welcome to visit us.
Oh,
there you go. Before we get started, want to remind everybody that Kiwanis Connects is proudly brought to you by WWDBTV.com and Inchi Book Services. So if you want to get those book machines in your local elementary school with your K-Kids, or even if you don't have a K-Kids, get a book in there. Maybe it'll lead to a K-Kids program. You can certainly do that as well. That's WWDBTV.com. Comfort Care, Home Care, Virginia Beach. Listen, we all know we love their commercials. We unveiled their new one last week. You're all going to love their commercials. So if you need any home care services, and even if you're not in the Virginia Beach area, but you know somebody in a different part of the country that may need some support, give Comfort Care Virginia Beach help. They will be happy to help you find the nearest Comfort Care in your area. And last but not least, Different Strokes, painting and handyman services, anything that you need done in your house from ceiling to floor, inside or out. Call Craig at Different Strokes Painting and Handyman Services, differentstrokes757.com. That does it for all the business that I have to attend to. Let's see. Blake says, ain't got too much time to tune in today, but you guys have an amazing stream and do great things and keep spreading the amazing vibes. Thank you, Blake. And, of course, our former Denver Bronco fandom in Las Vegas, Mr. Rick Upchurch, is in the chat room joining us as always as well. Good morning, Rick. All right, Doc Val, we do have some serious stuff today, but Along the line, we have Mental Health Moment with Melissa, her messages. We have Wow Moments. And of course, in honor of the gold-winning effort of the women's hockey team yesterday, I have Olympic-themed bad dad jokes to debut later on. And hopefully our guests will also spread the laughter with us as well. So that sets the table. Let's get down to it, Val. Take it away.
You know, one of the things is that when we talked about mental health moments, there are things that come up on a regular basis. And sometimes they're anniversaries of some really terrible things that happen in your life. And Candace had reached out through another Kiwanis club about a very sensitive topic that my family hasn't really talked about in almost 40 years. And so when this topic came up, I just immediately said, you know, it's time. And so that's why Candace and Matt, it was whatever date you want to be here, please come. And that's because I really believe in the message that you're bringing, and most people are unaware of it. And so I don't want to steal any thunder, but I will share some of my story as you guys go along. And so Candace, can you introduce your organization to us?
Well, I'm the founder of We Save Lives, which is the organization that is hosting the campaign we're going to be discussing. And I'm also the founder of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, as you know, as a result of my daughter's death from a drunk driver. And Valerie, but I'm really interested in your story too.
So my story is that in 1988, my youngest brother was 15 years old, and he was in a home where someone was playing Russian roulette. This wasn't supposedly the first time that this had happened in that household. And he was shot and ruled brain dead. Stayed in a hospital for 2 days before they would turn off the machines because there was so much drama going on about this big accident. And it, to this day, is listed as an accident.
Oh, interesting.
And it basically destroyed our family at home because there are certain things that are not accidents, but our insurance companies, our police departments, all of these hospitals will list it as accidents to make it easier so that then you can close juvenile files. And so that is my story, because you can't even look up my brother and find the story behind his death. So what you're doing is so important.
Well, I was going to say, and we'll talk more about it, but Matt, if our bill passes, then would she be able to go back in and get the death certificate changed?
Well, and I'll emphasize again, and I apologize, I didn't know the cat was in the room.
Pets are more than welcome for our show.
With our bill, and I want to emphasize, and we'll perhaps get into the weeds of it, it is a starting point, and there would have to have been a judicial determination that somebody was held accountable, through a murder charge of some sort in order to have that death certificate changed.
And that didn't happen.
There is a determination. It's in a locked juvenile file. But I think we're skipping way ahead, because most people are going, what the heck is going on here? And so Aaron has that look. And I know if Aaron has it, a whole another 100,000 people. So Aaron, straighten us out.
No, I'm good, because I've not experienced what the three of you have. And so I'm sitting and absorbing the emotional impact that this misidentifier, so to speak, is. So let's backtrack. Obviously, everybody is familiar with MAD. You know, that's been around a long time. Let's talk about real quickly. Let's introduce both We Save Lives, what that is, and Matt's organization, Stop Drug Homicide. Let's give a little basis there, and then let's segue into maturing why those two organizations are getting together for the new campaign.
I started We Save Lives about 15 years ago. It focuses on the 3 Ds, drunk, drugged, and distracted driving, although we've sort of broadened that a bit and work on drowsy driving and speeding, which is a real problem right now. And one of the things that we do, we have a campaign, by the way, before this one. And that was to change the word accident to crash, collision, or crime. So whenever the media talks about, oh, they were involved in an accident, we have gone after them. And we actually got AP to change their guidelines, encouraging media to double think or rethink this and start using other words, because we believe these are choices that drivers make, and they are. There's nothing accidental about driving drunk, drugged, or distracted, or speeding, or anything else. They're choices that they make. So the term accident is absolutely incorrect. And that's how We Save Lives has been going for the last 14 years. We have several campaigns, including one called National Passenger Safety Week, which is now the last week in January, designated by NHTSA. Over 70 organizations participate in this campaign. It's something I thought up about 4 years ago, 2022, and was fortunate that the National Road Safety Foundation believed in it as strongly as we did and partnered with us. And now it's a big thing, and it's actually in other countries. I just thought it was really important that we start focusing on passengers, empowering them to speak up and speak out whenever they're in a car with a driver who's going to make a dangerous or reckless decision. And we have other campaigns, 100 Safest Days, which starts in a couple of months. I don't know if you know this, but during the summer, it's the deadliest time for teen drivers. For the months from May to September is the deadliest time. So we've launched a campaign along with several other organizations, and we now call it the 100 Safest Days of Summer, encouraging both parents on how to guide their teens on driving safe. And that's also a really big thing. And then we have another campaign, and I'm going to mention it to you all because I want you to do this. It's called But Not While Driving. So I'm going to ask you to add that on your cell phones and mobile devices, hashtag But Not While Driving. So anytime you respond to a message or send a message, people know it's not while you're driving. And that helps make distracted driving socially unacceptable. We have other campaigns as well, including the one we're going to talk about next, but those are just some of the things that we've done from and we also, by the way, did petition Apple to add a do not disturb on your mobile devices. It took us a year and thousands of signatures, but they did. So you can now add and go into your phones and mobile devices and insert do not disturb, and it won't disturb you while you're driving. It won't ring while you're driving unless it's an emergency.
Wow. And I knew that there was a reason why you were here. And a big part of this is we have the largest student-led organization of service clubs in the world, and that's called Key Club. Key Club is in a majority of high schools. We have almost 250,000 Key Clubbers around the world. And just in Las Vegas alone, we have, I think it's almost 4,000 high schoolers where this could be a service project that they could wrap their arms around.
Absolutely.
Throughout the summer. And so these are, if Aaron thought I had lost my mind when I invited both of you, I think now he's like, okay, he's got it. But, on as we're moving forward, it's like, Matt, I know that you're also here representing your program. And so can you share a little bit about your program?
Sure. I don't know if I'll be have quite as much going on as Candace. She's been phenomenal with everything she's done in her life of activism. But I was thrown into this world a few years back when I lost my daughter, Alexandra, age 20. She was a college student. She died from fentanyl poisoning, and I'll explain that real quick. My daughter was home from college for Christmas break when she unfortunately reached out to a drug dealer on the social media platform Snapchat in search of the painkiller Percocet. My daughter had suffered from depression and anxiety. I have 4 wonderful kids, but Alex struggled with mental health issues, and unbeknownst to us, at some point started self-medicating, and she reached out for Percocet, and a drug dealer ended up selling her counterfeit pills that were made with lethal doses of fentanyl. She took half of one of these pills before going to bed 2 days before Christmas, and my wife found her dead in her bed the next morning. When the police showed up, they came in, and after basically a very short investigation, sat my wife and I down on our couch and said, it appears your daughter died of a drug overdose, and there was nothing criminal here. We were left in shock. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, and I want to mention, this was back in 2019 when very little was known about fentanyl back then. But I soon learned of these counterfeit pills that were going around, marketed as prescription medications. Got into our daughter's phone, and we saw that she was actually seeking Percocet. And it kind of snapped with me at that point. My daughter did not die of a drug overdose. Yes, she did not make a good choice to purchase what she believed was a prescription drug illegally, but had she received actual Percocet, she's alive today. And I went back to my law enforcement, my district attorney and my sheriff at the time, and I presented it to them in this way. And this kind of opened their eyes to what was going on, because they were starting to see a lot of deaths at this point, but nobody was really putting 2 and 2 together, that these are not traditional types of drug deaths. And soon an investigation was opened. I'm going to cut out a lot of details here, but 2 years later, the drug dealer in my daughter's case was arrested on federal charges, distribution of a controlled substance resulting in death. He sits in federal prison today. He received a 9-year of a potential 20-year sentence. We didn't have the greatest judge in the case. I was disappointed in the sentencing that the judge handed down. But nonetheless, we did get some semblance of justice that the vast majority of victims in our types of cases do not get. So I am grateful for that. But I started the organization called Stop Drug Homicide. Our 2 major goals are, one, for there to be a shift in the way law enforcement looks at these cases. Realizing that somebody's criminal act led to this victim's death. Too often, cases are not looked at criminally. There's no investigation. The burden of blame is left on the victim, and those perpetrators who are out selling this poison are left to continue ruining more families. So we want to see a shift in the way law enforcement looks at these deaths, look at them criminally, and prosecute. And with the prosecution comes the need for better laws, because right now, although we are starting to see a shift and laws are being passed nationwide to help with this problem, we still need better laws in place to help law enforcement so that when they do find that drug dealer and they do arrest them, they can be held on serious charges that are going to be consequential and keep them behind bars for a long time.
Absolutely. Hence, not an accident.
So that's a good stopping point, since you just said what you did, Doc Val. So it gives us an opportunity to collect ourselves after we've heard the basis of the story. When we come back on the other side, after our first break, as Val just said, not an accident. That's the campaign that Candace and Matt have put themselves together in their organizations to come up with. You're not going to want to miss what that's all about. You're watching Kiwanis Connects. Don't go anywhere. More with our guests right after this.
2 out of 3 kids in America can't read at grade level. And without help, many will never catch up. In a world of screens, short attention spans, and endless distractions, getting kids excited about reading has never been harder. That's where Kiwanis Club steps in. Through Inchy's bookworm vending machines, kids earn tokens for positive behaviors, achievements, kindness, and more, and use them to pick a book they just can't wait to read. Every book is a child's to keep. Every book builds a personal at-home library, and every page sparks curiosity, confidence, and lifelong learning. Your club can make it happen. Let's put more books and more smiles into the hands of kids who need them most. Together, we can change the story, one book at a time. To learn more, go to bookvending.com/Kiwanis.
Does your house need a new paint job, a bathroom remodel, or a new fence around the yard? With 40 years of experience, Different Strokes Painting and Handyman Service handles all type of work inside and out and from floor to ceiling. Different Strokes offers great value and great quality. Call Craig today and schedule your free estimate by dialing 757-395-9999. That's 757-395-9999. Above the rest, they show up and show out by making your vision come to life.
Sometimes I'd like to smack old age right in the kisser. Ow!
I always get the best parking spot.
I think she needs a little more help.
Monday.
What I really need is a boyfriend that can drive at night.
I can make a fashion statement out of anything.
I will be fabulous.
I have a little crush on my pharmacist.
With Comfort Care at your side, you can live your best life possible. We know families can't be there 24/7, which is why we can help with as much or as little home care as you need. From medication reminders and meal prep to everyday chores and errands, so you can live in your own home on your terms.
I wouldn't let aging stop me from being me.
Call Comfort Care now and let us create your personalized care plan and find the perfect caregiver match.
Can you show that number again? She was texting.
Together with Comfort Care, you can both live your best life possible.
All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. First and foremost, thank you for watching. Also, too, a little birdie's told me that today is the birthday of Tiffany Wynn, owner of Comfort Care Home Care. So happy birthday to Tiffany.
Birthday, Tiffany.
Shout out from all of us here. And it's sort of funny, the last 10-second clip in that video where the lady asks for the phone number to be displayed because the lady is texting and is distracted. I don't know that we could have asked for a better segue to come back in live than looking at that. So if you're just joining us, first of all, why are you 23 minutes late? Okay, I want to know why. You can email me your reasons. But first and foremost, our guest today, just to catch you up, is Candace Leitner. She is the founder of MAD, as well as We Save Lives. And, of course, Matt Capilouto, Stop Drug Homicide. They shared their stories, as Val did as well. But now we want to segue into what this new campaign is all about, called Not an Accident. So, Val, let me toss it back to you.
Okay. Well, when we were hearing about Not an Accident, and I think, Matt, that's what you were alluding to earlier about the legislation that you're working on and having people be able to reclassify things so that our police departments and everybody have an opportunity to tag it the way it's really supposed to be. When there is a murder involved due to drugs or whatever, and it's listed as an accident, that just makes everything spiral. So can you guys both explain a little bit more? And I think I'm a little bit emotional, so I'm not as clear and articulate as I normally would be on the show. So please don't not come back.
No, what has happened is I've mentored hundreds, if not thousands, of victims and survivors over the years of all crimes. And Matt and I became acquainted when he was trying to pass a law in California, a really important law. And interestingly enough, and we've kept up contact. And so we were talking not long ago, a couple of months ago, and he happened to ask me, what does your daughter's death certificate say for manner of death? And my daughter's things are at the Smithsonian, so I didn't have that information. And I said, why are you asking? He says, I bet it says accident. And I said, no, the guy was convicted of manslaughter. Mm-hmm. And he said, it'll say accident. So I sent away for it, and I got it. And sure enough, it said accident, which really angered me, as it has angered others. And I will let Matt continue. But through that conversation, we realized something needed to change.
Yeah, so I had reached out to the head of our coroner's office here in Riverside County, and seeking to have my daughter's death certificate, manner of death, changed from accident to homicide. And I wrote a very nice letter explaining our case, the reason why. And here we have started charging fentanyl dealers with murder. So it already, by law enforcement, these were being seen not as accidents, but homicides. Mm-hmm. But when the head of our coroner's office got back to me, he explained to me that they could not change the death certificate because their definition of a homicide requires intent, and they did not believe the drug dealer intended. And similarly, how it works with drunk driving, they don't believe that drunk driver necessarily intended to kill the victims.
Right.
And the problem with that is they simply are working under a very old school narrative by requiring this intent, because law enforcement has evolved. And today they are arresting and prosecuting under knowledge. That is, if they can prove that the perpetrator, whether a drug dealer or a drunk driver, knew what they were doing was dangerous, but despite that knowledge of knowing that, went ahead and did it anyways, and somebody died as a result, they can charge murder based on that. The legal term is known as implied malice. So that's why we are seeing arrests and prosecutions. If somebody knows what they're doing is dangerous and they disregard that knowledge and do it anyways, they can be arrested for murder. But unfortunately, our coroners and our medical examiners have not evolved to see it that way yet.
And they're still very antiquated. We actually had a group of us. Two of us were parents of children who had been killed by drunk drivers, and three of us were parents of children who had been killed by fentanyl poisoning. And we had a conversation with the president of NAME, the National Association of Medical Examiners, who sets these policies, I guess, for their coroners. And frankly, I personally thought it was sort of a waste of time, but I have a different way of looking at things than maybe a lot of other victims and survivors do, because 5 minutes into the conversation, I'd already decided to start this campaign. I was just ready to move on, but everybody else was still so angry. I mean, therefore, oh, well, we've done it this way for 20 years and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But we're going, these people are now being convicted of murder, and you're still calling it, yes, well, this is the way we've done it for 20 years and blah, blah, blah. And I really thought he dismissed us, to be honest with you, and dismissed the pain and grief that went into this conversation. And so, like I said, within 5 minutes, I was already mapping out not an accident campaign and what we were going to do. And as soon as we hung up, I said, all right, gang, this is what we're going to do. We Save Lives is going to start a campaign. Matt, you want to do this with me? And he said, absolutely.
And I would like to point out this. In terms of manner of death, coroners and medical examiners, they have 5 categories that they can choose from. It's homicide, suicide, natural, unintentional, and accident. Those 5 categories were established in 1910, and they've never
talked about antiquated.
Correct, and so they without that intent, they just put them as accident. But my question is this: how can you really even prove that a person didn't intend to kill the person? You can't prove that either. So accident just doesn't fit right. At the very least, put undetermined.
Which was on Carrie's first death certificate, by the way. When I got them, I got 2. The first one said undetermined, because I'm sure they were waiting for the crash investigation to be completed. And so to me, logically, that sounds right. But then the second one should have said homicide, and it didn't. It said accident, even though they described the way they die, which is horrible to read on death certificates. And then you look at manner of death and it says accident. And so this has to change, and it's going to change. And that's what Not an Accident campaign is all about. It is creating change, something I've been doing for the last 45, 50 years. And so we launched this campaign, and I know that you have the the website up. And the first thing we did was launch a petition that people are signing that says this needs to change and this is what it should be. And this is to the coroners and medical examiners and anybody else actually that creates this policy. And then we asked organizations who would support this to join us. Right now, we have about 30 organizations from around the country who support this idea and concept. And then we found an amazing lobbyist, pro bono, who drafted a bill, and I'll let Matt describe the bill and talk about it, that has just been introduced into the California legislature, the first of its kind. And we already have interest from other states in doing the same thing. So Matt, do you want to? I can go on forever, so I have to control myself and say, all right, Matt, it's your turn now.
Before Matt jumps in, I want to just mention, yes, the website, we now have the coalition. First of all, the main website is notanaccident.info. That'll just take you to the homepage. I want to clarify that. We have the coalition. If you want to join the companies that are part of this, and when I scrolled, here's a small world story for you. One of the logos that I saw go by was for Gweed Memorial Foundation. Tammy McGee is the founder of that organization because her son a few years ago was killed by a drunk driver who had no business driving because the driver, I believe the car that he was in was either not licensed or underage, but it was a cluster, you know what. The reason I bring that up is because next Tuesday, I am interviewing Tammy. I'm pre-recording for my TV show, The Voice of 757, because she's connected with Sky 4. So talk about a small world story. Here I see her logo go by. But I do want to ask, though, the companies that choose to sign to join the coalition, is there a cost? What's expected? What do they need to do? Talk about that because maybe Kiwanis Connects show signs up to be part of the coalition.
Yeah, and we'd love for you to be part. Rotary is part of the coalition.
I did see that. I did see that, by the way.
And it's free. And what it does, really, it's easy to sign up through the website. You send us your logo. You send us your name, the organization's name. We post it. And we will be posting on our social media thank yous to the organizations that sign up and highlighting your organizations. And what it means is you support this campaign. You also agree that our children's and loved ones' death certificates should not say accident. It should be truthful, which it is not now. And Matt will talk more about what harm that causes when it comes to statistics and data.
Sure. Candace is absolutely right. This is about truth, and calling these accidents completely diminishes the seriousness of the criminal actions that led to the victim's death. I mean, it's really a slap to the face to the victims and the victims' families. But let me explain one of the things that our bill here in California that's been introduced, what it'll fix. There is a clear conflict that exists between two branches of government. You have the executive branch, that's where the death certificates are that's who's responsible for overseeing the death certificates. They're the ones who are allowing these to be called accidents. And then you have the judicial branch that is prosecuting these cases and saying that there's homicides. There's no such thing as an accidental homicide. So what our bill will do is, if there is a case, and this is going to, there's going to be a lot of more of the drunk driving convictions at this point than the fentanyl related ones, because we're just starting to really see these fentanyl prosecutions come to life. But those people who have had somebody convicted and held accountable for their loved one's death are now going to be able to go to the court, show that a person was convicted and held accountable for that death, and they're going to be able to have a new death certificate issued with the classification of homicide. And what this will do, it will really create more accurate vital statistics, because from those death certificates come the vital statistics. And accurate vital statistics drive policies and provides fundings to effectively stop these preventable deaths. So accurate data leads to more effective policies and money more efficiently spent to stop these, to combat these types of deaths.
There's one thing I do want to clarify here. It's not just drunk driving, it's impaired driving. So drugged driving, distracted driving, even speeding. If there is a conviction, then families can go back in and get the death certificates changed.
But it expands even further. And that's the part that really triggered a lot for me over the past couple of days, is that it's like the anti-hazing laws that went into place. They were just meant in California, especially just for colleges. So if there was physical damage in a hazing incident, then people could be convicted of an intentional act.
Mm-hmm.
But how that has been reinterpreted in the courts were that it hazing in any format, not just a college campus, but at work, in fraternal organizations outside of colleges and universities. And I see this bill that you're moving forward having those same widespread impacts. And so that's why it triggered so many lightning, because I'm like you, Candace. It's like if I hear of a problem, it's like I automatically jump to how do we get to the solution. I don't want to go wah, because it's happened. And that's how I stay sane. You know that okay, Aaron, I know the sane part is questionable. How I stay balanced is finding those solutions that we can actually do something about, where we can wrap our arms around and support this. And California is a leader in this process. So when this gets implemented, right, because we manifest positive that this will pass in California, where do we take it from here? I know a lot of other states will pick this up and add it.
Are you asking me? Because what's happened actually from social media is that I am getting contacted by victims, primarily victims of impaired driving in other states, who have asked me how to get this done in their state. So one of the things that I am going to do, that Matt and I are going to do, he doesn't know this, but that he is going to do with me, after probably in March or April, we'll see, we're going to host a Zoom call first for the people that are interested in doing this in their states, and give them advice. And actually on the website, I did a master course on activism, how to be a successful activist and make movements that move, because I'm so tired of movements that don't. And so one of the courses was on getting a bill introduced and passed. And so that's actually on the website under the toolkit. So people can go to that and access that course and look at what they need to do to get a bill into. I mean, I've been involved in 800, 900 pieces of bills over the last 40 some odd years. Federal, I'm going to raise the drinking age to 21, so I'm really experienced in this. And so we want to help those other people get those bills introduced in other states. And so that's something that the campaign is committed to.
And with this, we hope, really that the coroners and medical examiners simply change their guidelines and policies in the way that they look at these deaths. We wouldn't need to pass legislation, going this route of state by state, if they would simply catch up with the times.
Right. If they weren't so antiquated and backwards in their philosophy. I mean, they kept saying we're not lawyers. Well, this is a public health issue. It's not just a legal issue. It's a public health issue, both drug poisonings and impaired driving. And so, I'm sorry, guys, but catch up your doctors. Anyway. Right.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. What I'd like to do is step aside for a final break. And real quickly before we do that, though, I've been having the crawl go across the bottom of the screen about donations. Real quickly, with about 60 seconds before break, the donations that are received, where does the funding go to for the cause?
It pays for the campaign. It pays for our social media. It pays for the petition. It pays for the legislation. It pays for everything that we do. That's what it pays for. It does not pay for salaries, by the way. It pays for getting the work done, and that takes, pay for travel when I go out to California to speak at press conferences, etc.
So what I'd like to do is very simply this, folks. We're going to take this interview right to the top of the hour. We're going to circumvent our normal segments because we think that this is too important a topic. Therefore, during the commercial break or through the end of the show, go to that link you see there at the bottom, notanaccident.info/donate. And if you are happy that you are not going to hear bad dad jokes today, I want you to make a donation of at least $10 to the website so we can make sure we further this cause as it needs to be done. You're watching Kiwanis Connects. I double dare all of you to do that during commercial break. We'll be right back.
Sometimes I'd like to smack old age right in the kisser. Ow!
I always get the best parking spot.
I think she needs a little more help.
Monday.
What I really need is a boyfriend that can drive at night.
I can make a fashion statement out of anything.
I will be fabulous.
I have a little crush on my pharmacist.
With Comfort Care at your side, you can live your best life possible. We know families can't be there 24/7, which is why we can help with as much or as little home care as you need. From medication reminders and meal prep to everyday chores and errands, so you can live in your own home on your terms.
I won't let aging stop me from being me.
Call Comfort Care now and let us create your personalized care plan and find the perfect caregiver match.
Can you show that number again? She was texting.
Together with Comfort Care, you can both live your best life possible.
Does your house need a new paint job, a bathroom remodel, or a new fence around the yard? With 40 years of experience, Different Strokes Painting and Handyman Service handles all type of work inside and out and from floor to ceiling. Different Strokes offers great value and great quality. Call Craig today and schedule your free estimate by dialing 757-395-9999. That's 757-395-9999. Above the rest, they show up and show out by making your vision come to life.
2 out of 3 kids in America can't read at grade level. And without help, many will never catch up. In a world of screens, short attention spans, and endless distractions, getting kids excited about reading has never been harder. That's where Kiwanis Club steps in. Through Inchy's bookworm vending machines, kids earn tokens for positive behaviors, achievements, kindness, and more, and use them to pick a book they just can't wait to read. Every book is a child's to keep. Every book builds a personal at-home library, and every page sparks curiosity, confidence, and lifelong learning. Your club can make it happen. Let's put more books and more smiles into the hands of kids who need them most. Together, we can change the story, one book at a time. To learn more, go to bookvending.com/Kiwanis.
All right, welcome back to Kiwanis Connects. During the commercial break, yours truly has made a donation because I don't have to hear myself do bad dad jokes today. So I've just saved myself there. And I signed the petition. I dare everybody watching to do the same thing as we speak. Okay, Val, take it away.
One of the comments that we left off on, we're really talking about, I look at this, and Candace, you are just this rock star that I'm having this gaga moment over, because when you talk about the activism that you're doing and how we can help, because that's what has been holding people back. Mm-hmm. They really want to know, how can we help? And now when you share the statistics about what's out there and what you're doing, people over and over again go, okay, I don't want to have compassion fatigue. I want to do something. So what is that? Kiwanians are volunteers across the world. We are people that it's not about money that we fundraise. It's about the impact on lives. And it's about empowering children to grow up to be amazing contributors to society. So for us, What can we do? What, sitting in my living room, not just signing the campaign, but what else can we do? And I'm going to give it to Matt because I know Candace probably has 12 hours of ideas. And I want to make sure before we're at the top of the hour, Matt gets a chance to share. So,
I think number one, what you're doing right here, giving the platform for us to, to get this messaging out there. I think a lot of it is just educating the public. We've been by referring to these deaths that are really criminal in nature as accidents over time. It's really conditioned the average citizen to not think much of it and be very dismissive and just maybe have feel bad about the situation, but not realize that these are preventable deaths, these are crimes, and we need to treat it as the public safety issue that it is.
One thing I do want to mention, on our website, one of our team members put together a fabulous resource. You can go into the state in which your loved one died and look and see how to get the death certificate changed. Now, the chances are that may not happen, but I'm doing it. Matt's doing it. I just submitted my death certificates to see if the coroner will change it. Probably not. But what I would love to do is empower millions of victims and survivors to all write these letters, fill out these forms, which didn't cost me anything except to get the death certificate, and that was next to nothing, and send it into their coroners. Send a message. Because if everybody starts sending in these forms saying, we want this changed, they'll get the hint. Don't you think, Matt?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. And so one of the things I just wrote down is in California, and it's the California, Nevada, Hawaii Kiwanis District. One of the main focuses that we have is pediatric trauma prevention. And there are lots of grants within our pediatric trauma prevention program that we have available both to our high school students and our Kiwanis clubs. I also know at the Kiwanis International level, we have a very large focus on health and nutrition, and pediatric trauma prevention falls under that umbrella for grants in that sense. So there are resources out there to hold rallies and bring in top speakers because I think when people hear your story in person, I think that also makes a difference. And so, Matt, you talked about, it's like being vocal, being present. And so, Candace, it's your turn. What else can you do?
Ironically, as you're speaking about that, I am speaking before a trauma prevention group in April, as a matter of fact. And they've asked me, because of this campaign, to come on board, and said their doctors agree that this is not an accident, that it should be relabeled. And so that's something I'd be very interested in. Matt would too. And I'm sure some of our other team would too be interested in doing. And Valerie, I'd like to pursue some of these other things with you after the podcast. But so any trauma prevention groups that would like to join, sign up their organization to the coalition, we would welcome that support. So.
Sounds like a good opportunity for a future golf tournament to raise some funds and awareness. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Or speaking at a major conference or all of those great things. I mean, there's so many opportunities. When you've got Kiwanis in nearly 80 countries around the world, and not to mention our power here in the United States, there's no reason Kiwanis' logo should not be scrolling across on that website before Rotaries, by the way. I just thought I would say that alphabetically, and be on board with this. So
we'll take care of that. We'll take care of that. Do you have a minute for me to share a Kiwanis story?
Absolutely.
Sure. So back when I first started, Matt, I'd never spoken in public before. I didn't know how I would get nervous and scared whenever I'd get up and read a poem. I used to write poetry. And so I was invited by my little local Kiwanis in my neighborhood to come and give a speech. And I'd never, ever done it before. And they had a timer. I don't know if you remember this. This was many years ago. But they had a timer, and they would turn it over when you started to speak. And at the end, which we had all discussed up front, they would then let me know what I should and shouldn't do. and how I should present myself. So I got up and I spoke. This was right after my daughter was killed, because as you know, I started MAD 4 days after she was killed. And so I got up and I started speaking, and I had some notes and whatever. And when the timer was done, I wasn't done, but they turned it over and they let me finish. And when I was done, they looked at me and they said, you did so many things wrong, and don't change a word. And I will never forget that. And they all came up and talked to me afterwards and said, don't change a word. You spoke from the heart, and that's what counted. And that really, I have to tell you, helped build my confidence to continue going out and giving speeches. So I just wanted to share that.
It's all right. We Kiwanians always give true feedback. So, that's wonderful.
If I could say something real quick to that, with Kiwanis having chapters virtually everywhere, unfortunately, we have victims everywhere, but I guarantee many of these victims would love to come speak at local chapters and share their stories, and that could help spread this education very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And so if you're watching this, please share it. I know that we're in midterm season or mid-year season right now. And for us, mid-years are conferences where people get a chance to get together, talk about service projects that they might pull into their local communities. And we are in over 30 regions within the domestic United States. Wow. And then there are another 20 internationally, where people are always looking for speakers and presentations, because we want to be relevant when we're helping people out. And I can't think of anything more relevant than this. That's a universal that we're dealing with. And Aaron, we just need to keep making sure that we're supportive and doing the right thing.
Well, Matt and I both believe that using the word accident enables people to continue their destructive behavior. And that's why it has to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, accident could be much of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a crutch to be able to do something, whether they intended to or not. And that's, you're 100% right that it has to change. The great news is that this show will re-air. It will get out there to close to 100 to 200,000 views. It'll be out there across the board. And I encourage both of you, Candace and Matt, to go right to the Facebook page, Kiwanis Connect Show, or the YouTube channel, grab the URL, and please feel free to post it on the websites, your emails, wherever you feel this interview will also help spread the word within your own channels and connections as well. Even if you want to share it to Rotary, that's okay. We'll show them how it's done. That's totally fine. But seriously, it's something that I think when we share it to our community, this will be something that will continue to expand and increase awareness, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. If I could make a final statement, I'd like to say people don't go to prison for accidents. They go to prison for crimes. Mm-hmm. And if somebody has been held accountable, the death certificate should reflect that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Candace, is there something that you wanted to share?
Makes total sense. You need to consider.
Yeah.
Are we done? I'm sorry. Can I share?
Absolutely. Please do.
So I just want to reiterate. Well, I just want to reiterate, as a victim of an impaired driving crash, that impaired driving is not accidental. These are choices that drivers make that they don't have to make. They can find other means of transportation or stay home. So these, again, are choices that people make. And we need to continue to say that to our peers, friends, family. This is a choice you don't have to make.
I just want to let everybody know again, remind you that at the bottom of the screen is their email, help@notanaccident.info. So if you'd like to have a speaker, as they suggested, perhaps victim's family is in your Kiwanis community, but you just don't know who or what, email Candace and or Matt at that email address that you see on the screen. Perhaps they can provide some guidance to direct you to in the right direction to perhaps find some of these families that will be more than happy to speak at your next Kiwanis meeting. So with that, we are up against the top of the hour already. I can't believe we've got another episode in the books, Doc Val.
I know. And, as I look at the timer clock, one of the things that because I always like ending with an action item that we can wrap our arms around really, really easily. And so I challenge all of our Kiwanis clubs as you are preparing to give out scholarships and talking about what you're going to be doing for summer, because I know most of our clubs are already projecting out for summer, even though it's already February, is to join in on the 100 Safest Days project and work with your key clubs to be able to set up a campaign over the summer. All these key clubs are looking for service hours because they're service organizations. And what better way than to do that with MAD and be able to move forward?
We Save Lives. With We Save Lives, it's not a MAD.
With We Save Lives. Thank you for putting that up there. And being able to come up with ways to invest in making this change. And the other piece is you can very easily go and sign up and have your name and your business name scrolling across, because this is something that is so important. I can't even express it. So if you've been looking at my Facebook page, you'll know that this was a tough one, but it was absolutely necessary. And I know Aaron and the rest of the crew, John, we're also thankful, Matt and Candace, that you came on board with us. We had no idea how deep we were going to get. And so Steve Nagel, if you're out there, if you could please donate $100, because I know you've always wanted for Aaron not to tell his bad dad jokes and be able to do that. But Steve, $100. All right, Aaron,
all right, Steve, that's all right. All right, Candace and Matt, thank you for coming on. And whenever you need our platform for updates or news or things like that, please just give us a heads up, and we will do what we can to get both of you, one of you scheduled, or if you just want to share news with us that we can then share with our audience, I know we will be able to do that at any moment's notice. So thank you again for taking the time, sharing the stories that are hard to share publicly as well. So, all right, everybody, just a couple of quick programming notes. Tomorrow's Aaron's Hour at 11 a.m. will be a rebroadcast of last week's episode with former Navy Chief Carlo Moore, who wrote the following book, Do Not PTSD Me. Oh, there we go. It almost popped up there. Come on, get in there. There you go. Anyway, great book. I will be at an event tomorrow morning from 10 to 12 with Foundation Fighting Blindness from 10 to 12, which is why Aaron's Hour will not be live. But on Sunday, WWDBTV.TV, 8 a.m., Kiwanis Connects, 1 p.m., of course, will be Aaron's Hour. And at 12:30 to 1 local time, Cox Cable Channel 4, The Voice is 757 on Sky 4 TV. I'm not going to tell you who my guest is, then nobody will want to watch it. But if you miss it, you can go to the Facebook page later, and I'll put it back up there. Listen, what can I tell you? Have a great week, everybody. From all of us here at Kiwanis Connects, be kind to everybody. Why? We're all we have. This show is adjourned.